Right. Welcome, everybody. Happy Friday to you. It is the Friday. Oh, boy. I just bumped my camera. It is, first of all, it's having trouble uh, recognizing that I'm a human being that it needs to focus on. But anyway, happy Friday. Today, we're talking about TV versus movies in nerdery, whatever. So that's going to be a topic that'll occupy at least the first part of this live stream. I hope it's a lot of fun. I hope you all have a good time. Arguing, bickering, the way that we do. The only rule I have is that we keep it fun, keep it civil, and enjoy talking about TV shows and movies that we all enjoy, or that some of us enjoy. Yeah, late. Yeah, okay, fine. Anyway, but I was going to say that is going to keep us busy for the first part of this live stream. So if you are joining after the fact, if you're watching the live recording of this, then just know that, we're going to go on to some other subjects as well. I think I'll answer any questions you had about the Dragonsteel convention, the Brandon Sanderson convention that happened this week. And I don't know, whatever other random things we want to talk about. I'm not caught up yet on Andor. I think we have one more episode next week. I think that should probably be our live stream topic next week. We'll see. Anyway, so that is the plan for today. To do that, it's very, very simple. We're not doing anything complicated. I thought about, here, I'll pull this up. I thought about doing a bracket challenge, and so pitting different TV shows against movie or so I was going to do a bracket with TV on one side and movies on the other, and then see, which ones floated to the top. But kind of like I was saying last week, I love doing brackets like that, but we do need to grow these live streams before that is, a more reasonable thing for us to do. So today, what we're going to do, honestly, is just kind of hash it out here in the comments. And I'm afraid that with this being my live stream, I get the final word on what counts. But I thought we would just kind of list out all the stuff that we think should count as not just good, but how do I put this? There's a difference between the best and the greatest. Right, the best has to do with the quality, and the greatest might have something to do more with impact or, I don't know, cultural relevance or whatever. So we're not necessarily getting into what is the best, although I think that will be part of it. We're going to talk a lot about the great entries in the last generation into nerd, TV, and movie dumb. So there you go. Let's see. Who do we got here? So Josh, I already said, I showed you. Welcome. We've got Murph as well. All right. So let me know what you want to include. I mean, obviously on the movie side, it's going to be hard to argue with, going back a generation, Lord of the Rings. We can include The Matrix. And when I do something like The Matrix or The Lord of the Rings, I'm kind of including the whole group of these things together, right? Oh, here, I can blow this up a little bit. I'm including the whole group. So The Lord of the Rings, of course, is 3 movies, but we can count them as a whole. The Matrix is 3 movies. Technically 4 now, but let's be honest. The Matrix is 3 movies, but we kind of count it as a similar property. On the other hand, we have something like not on the other hand. Similarly, we have something like The Hobbit, which you might be tempted to put in the same box as The Lord of the Rings, but it's not, right? This is a separate kind of trilogy that got created. Anyway, so let me know what else you want to put in there. I'm going to try to pull up the thumbnail. I created a thumbnail for this video, and I know it had some stuff on there that would count for sure, right? So with that in mind, okay, there's my thumbnail. Oh yeah, so over on TV we've got something like Firefly or The Mandalorian, And no, I'm not going in like chronological order or anything. We're just going to kind of shout things out. So yeah, let me know what you want me to add what you want me to add to the list. Star Trek, Firefly, Buffy. So Star Trek, it's interesting. This is where we get into like the quality versus quantity debate. Star Trek, we'll put that on CBS. Well, it's not called CBS All Access anymore, is it? It's Paramount Plus, right? Paramount Plus. Because, Star Trek goes back a long ways. And so if I... And I think there were 2 or 3 series that we could include there, right? But like I can't just put Star Wars. I'd have to do Star Wars prequels and Star Wars sequels. Those will both count, but I can't do Star Wars because I'm trying to keep this within one generation, right? In fact, maybe we go ahead and put let's see. Last generation. Oh boy. Contributions. Okay. So maybe we do something like this. Merge those. Yeah, we can expand that out a little bit. Okay, great. We'll do a little fill color. Let's get fancy. Should we get fancy? Let's get fancy. Okay, let's do a little purple. Turn the text color white. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Look at that purple. I love purple, you guys. Okay. Oops. So if we do that, in fact, we can turn this one into, I'd love just doing stupid crap with, we'll come back to that in a second. I love doing stupid crap with these spreadsheets just to pretend that they look good. Let's do red on this one. Red seems like a good idea. Okay, and then this one we can go with that. Where was that dark purple? Something like that. Okay, great. So we got TV, movies. Okay, where are you guys at? Star Trek, Firefly, Buffy. Oh, Buffy. That would be a great one. Now, okay. This gets us into something, another definitional thing that I want to talk about. When we're talking about what has been the best, TV versus movies, I am mostly, not entirely, like Firefly would not, well, I don't know. Was it a comic? I don't know for sure about something like Firefly. But there's a lot of sci-fi fantasy stuff out there, and not all of it would necessarily make this list. I am thinking most especially of adaptations. And I don't know where to put that. Maybe we want to we'll put it up here. Adaptations. Nerd edition. There we go. Yeah, you can totally read that, right? So I'm thinking more of adaptations. So I don't know if The Matrix breaks that mold. I think was that? No, I don't think it was a comic. I know they made a comic afterward. So there are going to be things that it's not a bright line. It's not like it has to be an adaptation. But the thing about nerd culture historically, right? Not just this year or the last 10 years or whatever. The thing about nerd culture is that it has largely happened off screen. Again, Star Trek would be a great exception to that, right? And Star Wars. Well, but not Star Wars, because when we talk about Star Wars, it's like, yeah, there's the on-screen stuff, but then like the mega fans got into the EU. They got the novels, the comic books, the whatever. Stuff that happened off screen was often nerdier than what was going on screen, right? So because with the on-screen stuff, it's extremely expensive to produce, to distribute, to market. And so with those kind of more wide audience things, either TV or movies, they weren't necessarily as fundamentally nerdy, right? They were trying to play to a wider audience. And I wonder if that's shifting nowadays. Anyway, so Buffy, I guess, sorry, the whole point I'm thinking of this is Buffy. Does Buffy count? I don't know the answer to that. But I think, like if The Matrix counts, then Buffy counts as well. I think that's fair. Severance is probably Severance. Because that's the one that just came out this year, and that's it's like what would you describe it? I haven't watched the whole thing. Okay, I did watch the first episode or two, so I'm mildly familiar with it, but I'm sure there's a lot of mind blowing stuff that's coming. But something like Severance would be more like I don't know about magical realism, but it's like I don't know. It's a weird type of realism that probably wouldn't count. I don't know. It might. Make your case, Andrew. Make your case. Hey, get out of here. No, my typing skills are majestic and not to be gainsaid at any time. Okay. Prequels and sequels go in the movie column. Oh yeah, sorry. Thank you. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Oh, now it's all the wrong color. Oh. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Oh, dark. Yeah, I've heard that. It's one of those ones I keep, like, I'll sit down to watch Netflix often and or to watch something. And I'll turn on Netflix and I'm like, oh, wasn't there that one German show that everybody said was amazing? And I keep meaning to turn it on and I never quite get around to it. So this is a great question. How many are you looking at having? 12 on each side? I had the idea of doing a bracket at the beginning and kind of tournament style, like, bracketing it all down. I abandoned that idea until we get, like, when these live streams are consistently like 30 to 50 people at a time, then I think it makes more sense for us to do a bracket, because what I would want to do is not just my decisions on what's good, but I want to do, straw polls with you guys. With a dozen of us here right now, and who knows, we may get more later, but as a general rule, we usually have, 10 to 15 people on these live streams at any one time, and that makes straw polls a little more difficult, because I know that a lot of you are watching this, kind of out of the corner of your eye while you're working, and you're not going to be able to, like, pop in and do a straw poll. So I get that. But that's why I don't want to, force the bracket thing today. Firefly is comedic. That's true. It's also very much space opera. So, not digging that color combo. Change it to blue. Okay, all right, that's fair. All right, fair. Can I get rid of this? Okay, so we'll change this to blue. I am a slave to my viewers. Oh, that was the wrong one. I want this one. Okay. Well, that's fine. That's blue, and now we can turn that back to purple. You're also demanding. Okay. All right. Is that a little better? The yellow was not the most attractive. Oh, not a comic. It's comedic. Oh, I see. Okay. Doctor Who would be an amazing addition to this. Doctor Who. It's there are few shows or movies that I've come across that have had a more rabid fan base. There are bigger fan bases out there, certainly, but I remember when Ryan and I went to our very first, we went to our very first, I think it was FanX. Yeah. We had done FantasyCon a little while before that, and then we went to our first FanX, and we went to some after party at this, like, nightclub or bar across the street from the convention center. And I just remember looking out at this nightclub and seeing how many Doctor Who t-shirts, or not t-shirts, but costumes, Doctor Who costumes there were. It was really remarkable. That was that would have been 2014, I think. And so, Doctor Who is, I think it has passed its heyday. But still, the people who are obsessed with Doctor Who are truly obsessed. Dune, thank you. I did put that on the thumbnail. That's a good one. Indiana Jones, if you think it counts, I don't think it counts because, first of all, it wasn't in this generation. So I'm going, like, I kind of went, a generation technically is defined as 20 years. I decided to go back to the turn of the century, so call it the year 2000. And I know that something like The Matrix, that came out in 99. The Phantom Menace came out in 99. So we're going to fudge that line a little bit, but that's kind of what I'm going for. And as we all know, there were only 3 Indiana Jones movies ever made. So yeah, those don't count. Let's see. Oh my gosh, The Leftovers. The Leftovers. Is this going to count? I don't think The Leftovers is going to count. Andrew, I feel like I'm really messing with you. No, I did get dark in there for you, but you came in with, oh, that's right, Severance. You had earlier, and now The Leftovers. That is my wife's favorite television show ever, The Leftovers. And so it is not a knock on its quality to say that it doesn't quite belong on this list, because while it is fantastical in its like its foundations, it does. Or no, it's not fantastical in its foundations. It's fantastical in its kind of accoutrements, right? But it is more of a realist kind of, how do I put it? General population aesthetic than what we're thinking of. And do we have, let me know if, I got the bot. Thank you very much, Lady Sweden. Yeah, we are trying to, we tend nowadays to get these, what was it in Austin Powers, the fembots? These kind of sex bots come into the chat, and, well, we deal with them as best we can, but thank you, Lady Sweden. Okay. I don't think The Mandalorian is such a contribution. I'm going to put The Mandalorian on the list, and here's why. The Mandalorian goes on the list, and this list should, as we kind of finish this out, this list should get very, very long. The Mandalorian goes on there because of just how anticipated it was. So there are kind of 2 directions that a show can go to be influential culturally. And one of those directions would be, I think, something like Game of Thrones. When Game of Thrones premiered, it was anticipated with a certain crowd. HBO did a good job of marketing that a decade ago and telling you, hey, here's this huge new prestige project we're working on. But if you look at the numbers, the viewership numbers for the first year of Game of Thrones, which I should probably put on here. If you look at Game of Thrones, oh, no, it is already on there. Sorry, my mistake. It didn't have huge viewership numbers in the first year. It was in season 2 when season 1 kind of like got everybody talking, and then season 2 was even bigger, and then season 3 was bananas. I think I started watching in season 4, if I recall correctly. Anyway, so that's one direction. Sorry, so yeah, future direction that a show can influence the culture. On the other hand, The Mandalorian goes kind of the opposite direction, where before it ever premiered, it was having a huge impact on the culture. Now, remember, it's not just about the show itself. In the case of The Mandalorian, that was the marquee show for the launch of Disney Plus. And we won't get too much into this, but suffice it to say that because of what I used to do as a full-time job, I used to be paid to follow streaming services, streaming devices, streaming everything, this and that and the other. I cannot tell you how much Disney Plus overperformed on its expectations, both internally and externally. As far as subscriber counts and view times and all of that stuff. And while there are other things that contributed to that, nothing contributed more than The Mandalorian to making Disney Plus a thing. And so, does that make sense? Pre-influence versus post-influence, whatever, because that's a word, sure. So I think Mandalorian does deserve a spot on there. We got Dune on there. Yes, thank you. Lost. Oh boy, Lost would go in a similar, in my mind, in a similar vein as The Leftovers, where yes, there are fantastical elements involved, but it's not. But it wasn't aimed at nerds, broadly understood. It was aimed at the general culture, right? Is that fair? But it's not crazy to add Lost to a list like this. It's just it doesn't quite fit with what I kind of have in my mind. Um, Star Trek also has movies. Should we add it to both sides? Does it have movies in the last 20 years? If so, I can't say that I follow culture like this as closely as some people do, but I do feel like I have I feel like I have a decent pulse on it. Um, and if they've made any movies, Star Trek movies in the last 5-7 years on CBS All Access and then Paramount Plus, like I haven't really heard of them, so probably not. But this is good. Yes, absolutely. We need to add these. So we've got Harry Potter. I once read a parody called Barry Trotter, and it was dirty and hilarious. Let's see. And the Avengers, and maybe we just put the MCU on there. I mean, that is a huge umbrella, but still, I think that's fair. Kind of like the Lord of the Rings. Yeah, it's only 3 movies compared to, 30 now, but still, it's kind of like that umbrella, right? And then what was the other thing? Oh, yeah, Batman. Batman, and we'll put Nolan on there. Okay, good. I need some more TV. There's a ton of TV that we haven't put on here yet. Okay, Harry Potter, Twilight. That's not a bad one to put on there. Twilight's a good one. I know I'm reaching on these. Reach away. It provides interesting discussion, right? Oh, that's true. Star Trek, the J.J. Abrams Star Trek. Okay. Star Trek Abrams. There we go. Okay. Yeah, thank you. I stand corrected. I was thinking of Paramount Plus, of course. Star Trek with Benedict Cumberbatch. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to catch up to you guys, but you're all very, very fast. Let's see. Fringe. I think, Murph, were you and I talking about this on Discord? I was talking about that with somebody. Fringe. You know what? I think I will put Fringe on there. If Buffy counts, then Fringe counts. It's not an adaptation, which is what we're kind of erring toward. We're looking more at adaptations than otherwise. But Fringe, well, I don't know, because it does, I think it does lack the impact. I think if I can't put Lost on there, I probably can't put Fringe on there. I have my personal biases want me to put Fringe on there, but I think maybe I can't, because if I did, I'd have to put X-Files on there. I can't do that. Yeah, Sandman is one of those things where it could end up having more of an impact. But much like the other one, what was the other gaming thing that came out? It was American Gods. Yeah, I think it was American Gods. Am I crazy? What was the other? No, it wasn't. Well, I mean, there was American Gods. Shoot. What was the other the collab that he did with Terry Pratchett that made was it Hulu? Anyway, where these game and adaptations tend to hit and then fizzle. There's buzz, and then they kind of fizzle, which is, I'm sure to many of us too bad. I'm just trying to call it like it really is. This would be a great one, Battlestar Galactica. Okay. Sherlock. Oh boy, Sherlock. This is so interesting because Sherlock has no magical elements to it, or whatever sci-fi fantasy elements to it, but it was huge for nerds. So kind of like Fringe, it wouldn't be crazy to add it to a list like this. I'm just not sure it's quite there. Stranger Things definitely should go on there. Oh man. Stranger Things. I feel like now we're getting into some weird territory there. Okay. Dark Angel. That was a Jessica Alba one, right? It lasted like 2 seasons. I think that came out when I was a teenager. And let's just say that Jessica Alba to a teenage boy in the, late 90s, early 2000s. Whew, that was bait right there, right? Yes, Avatar should go on there. Avatar? That's a great one. The Magicians probably would not make our list, but Arcane, Good Omens is the one I was trying to think of, which would not make our list. However, Arcane would. If you just look at the buzz surrounding these shows after they came out, Arcane, people still aren't shutting up about Arcane, but try to find somebody outside of your immediate nerd circle who actually watched Good Omens. It's going to be tough to do, right? Man in the High Castle, maybe. I'm going to go with a maybe on this one. We'll maybe come back to that one. Yeah, a lot of you are reminding me that, yes, it was Good Omens. Okay. So let's see. DC Universe. What do we say? Flash, Arrow. Okay, that's a good one. We're going to put those all under the same umbrella. It says nerdy, not fan. That's true. Okay, well, whatever. It's true. Sherlock is perfect in this list. If one more of you says this, then I will go ahead and throw it on there. So yeah, we just the motion has been put forward. It has been seconded. All in favor for Sherlock. Let me know. Wheel of Time is a good one. Okay. All right. Even over in Sweden, over Lady Sweden, it says even for those of you over there, straight women, Jessica Alba. Whew. I remember very clearly. Like I remember seeing the trailers for the show before it came out. So this was 20 years ago at least. I remember seeing the trailers for the show, and as a kid, I was like, this is gonna be awesome. And then it turns out the show was okay at best. But Jessica Alba, whew, yeah, she was great. Oh, The Expanse has to go on there. Yes. The Expanse. Okay. Sandman has already made a big impact regarding the discussion of authors having full say in production and full control of their IP. Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. How is it done? I haven't really seen the numbers on Sandman. We'll go ahead and throw it on there. But I haven't seen much about how it has actually done viewership-wise. This is one that should definitely go on there. Daredevil. I need to read up a little bit more on Sandman, so if you want to send me some links to learn a little bit more about what you're talking about there, that'd be great. All the Stargates. Yeah. Stargate. All of them. Not the original. I think the original came out in, what would that have been, 94, 95, something like that. I'm not even sure. Hello, Morgan. Welcome. Oh, The Witcher. The Witcher actually should go on there. I know that a lot of people are very upset about the departure of Henry Cavill after the next season. And I am curious, are people more upset about the departure of Henry Cavill or about the addition of Liam Hemsworth, who I don't find objectionable? I think he's fine. Is he the most compelling actor in the world? No, but neither is Henry Cavill. Although that is that is one giant hunk of man, isn't it? So it is hard to see Henry Cavill go sometimes. Heroes might go on the list. That could be a good one. That was what, 2005 ish, give or take a year or two. Heroes. Okay, that's kind of a superhero type thing. Oh my gosh, The Boys. Oh boy. Yeah, that one has to go on there. Excellent one. Smallville. Don't care about Liam, but Henry is perfection. He is. If I feel like if I could look like Henry Cavill, I would rule the world pretty much. So yeah, I think I'm with you there. I'm not the gayest of men, but Henry Cavill. Whew. All right, Smallville actually would be a good one because that kind of kicked off a whole era of that type of TV show. I feel like Smallville was the pre. What was it called? What's the one that ran for like 10 plus seasons that everybody loved on the CW? Somebody might have already said it. What was it called? Okay, well, we'll come back to that. The Crow, Blade, and Elektra. Oh, you know what? I think Blade would be a little too early. Let's see. When did Blade come out? The Blade film franchise. Yeah, that was 1998. And my question on that one would be, it did have an impact at the time. But has that, I think it did. I think I'm trying to decide if that impact has stuck around long enough to justify its 1998 kind of tag there. But without Blade, there's a lot of kind of comic superhero stuff that we wouldn't probably have gotten. It was successful. We're not talking about Avengers successful, but it was successful enough that then a few years later, studios were able to look at Sam Raimi and go like, oh yeah, no, you could make a Spider-Man movie, right? Speaking of which, Spider-Man, gotta go on our little list. Everyone is gay for Henry. That is possibly true. All right. Too old for Smallville. So am I, but I recognize that it was a big thing. Arrival would be a good one. I want to be a little bit careful when I get into movies, because there are a lot of, kind of like, what were we looking at earlier on the list? Somebody mentioned, Severance. That's right. Like something like Severance, something like The Leftovers. Those kind of TV shows. Arrival would be something that is nerdy because it's science fiction, but it's not aimed at nerds. Is that distinction fair? So I'm struggling with whether I should put it on here, because we're looking at stuff that was kind of aimed at nerd culture, or like as a core is aimed at nerd culture, obviously with the hope that it expands out. But like I struggle with, somebody said other Nolan movies like Inception and Interstellar. I want to put them on there, especially something like Interstellar, but Interstellar, one of my all-time favorite movies. I love that movie so much, and it's a fabulous sci-fi extravaganza, but it doesn't quite fit in with what we're talking about here. I hope I'm being fair. Okay. Teen Wolf. I'm curious, Alex, how big was Teen Wolf? I feel like it was pretty big, but we were just talking about too old for this, too old for that. I am definitely too old for Teen Wolf. I never understood that. If you're allowing Smallville, then you should allow Princess Bride. Princess Bride was made in like 1983 or something like that. So no, because Smallville was the early 2000s. Okay. Ooh, inspirational for the opposite reasons. Bad adaptations. Oh boy. Whew. Because you could do Aragon, like you say, Ender's Game, and then what was the other one? Ready Player One was highly anticipated, and then just kind of like it was kind of terrible. Yeah, Interstellar, The Martian actually, I kind of want to put because we had The Expanse on there. I kind of want to put The Martian on this list as a similar like kind of hard sci-fi. This one, The Expanse, is definitely a little more fantastical in a way. I mean, it's further out in the future, which automatically makes it more. But this, so The Martian, I might end up taking this off. We'll see. But The Martian kind of breaks my own rule, like of being aimed at a general audience rather than a nerd audience. But it is something that can kind of turn a general audience really nerdy. I'm mulling. Okay, make your cases. I feel shallow in my picks. No, there's no reason to feel shallow about it. Everybody loves the first movie. It's everything that happened after that got a little iffy. Westworld would probably, I think that would be a really good one to add here. And this is it's shaping up the way that I figured it would. How far are we in? Oh my gosh, we've been going for almost 40 minutes already. Where I kind of figured that the TV list would start overtaking the movie list. So I wondered if that would be the case. Oh, Smallville is too old for our list? Nah, yeah, I think it's right in there. Dark Tower is bad for Dark Tower fans, but kind of worked as a general fantasy movie. It didn't though. It bombed at the box office. It bombed critically. There were some people. I'm not saying nobody enjoyed it, but it was just an out and out bomb. And it wasn't that anticipated either. So like, you take something like where's our like the Star Wars sequels. Take something like The Force Awakens. If The Force Awakens had bombed, which of course would be unthinkable, but just, put yourself in this universe where The Force Awakens bombs. They spend, cajillions of dollars buying the rights, producing the movie, putting it out there, and then it just doesn't make any movie or any money. It would still make the list because of how incredibly anticipated it was. But I don't feel like The Dark Tower fits into anything near that kind of category. Would Ultraviolet be on there? No, Ultraviolet wouldn't. I think it fits in that category, but it had no impact, as far as I can tell, other than that I remember what it is. The impact, here's the greatest impact that Ultraviolet had, as far as I can tell, is that for about 2 years, it gave TV stores like Best Buy something to show on their biggest and brightest screens, right? So Mila Jovovich running around, doing kicks and flips and wearing weird sunglasses and whatnot, and looking all Mila Jovovich-ish. Like, that was great. That was like the biggest impact it had. Avatar with the blue people. Nice. Yeah, unfortunately, I think you're right. I hate that movie so much, and I hate that it's getting a sequel or 8. But yeah, but it should go on there. Martian is for all the NASA Reddit nerds. It's fine. Is John Carter fine? This one falls. This one kind of falls in the same vein as Ultraviolet, where John Carter. It was somewhat anticipated. It was somewhat marketed, but ultimately that all proved to be that was all driven by Disney. Nobody actually cared about the John Carter movie, and it showed when it actually hit the theaters, where Disney tried really hard to make fetch happen with John Carter, and they did not succeed. So I don't think even Mila could save Ultraviolet. Yeah. Dark Tower tried to do too much with too little. The casting was good. I mean, it had Idris Elba. Like, you could put Idris Elba in like take Martha Stewart out of her show and put Idris Elba in there, and suddenly the show is like 80 times better, right? Idris Elba is amazing. Mad Max Fury Road. Man, you love coming in with this stuff. Blade Runner, I think, would be a more apt entry into this list. I love Fury Road. I think that is one of the most bananas, most fun things I've seen at the movies in the last decade. I'm not sure it belongs on here, but Blade Runner might. Blade Runner might simply because it's not an adaptation, but it's a continuation that ended up of something that is very nerdy sci-fi kind of thing. So it's kind of continuation of that ended up actually being impactful well beyond its theatrical run, right? Planet of the Apes, maybe. Although, well, what'd they do? They did. Oh, you know what? No, they did a bunch of those. Okay, Planet of the Apes, and many of those were really well regarded. Put a thumbs down next to the movie Avatar. Oh, that's true. People look forward to the train wreck. That's true. Oh, X-Men would be a great one. X-Men, that kind of similar to what are some of the older ones that I had on here, like Blade and Spider-Man, paved the way for something like the MCU. In fact, I think I would go so far as to say that you don't have the MCU without X-Men. That's true. This is, man, Andrew, I feel like you and I would have a really, really good time talking about movies. I suspect that we have very similar tastes. But I don't think Ex Machina is going to go on this list. Watch Idris do Martha Stewart things. Absolutely. How could you not? Ooh, Snowpiercer. Where are we at with Snowpiercer? I'm going to go with no. This is, no. I'm going to go with no. The thing I was hesitating on was that, what was the, oh, we don't even have it on here. The Hunger Games. Oops. Hunger Games should go on this list, but Snowpiercer wouldn't. They exist in kind of obviously they're very different stories, but the kind of dystopian future society, whatnot, they both land in that category, but Hunger Games actually had an impact, where Snowpiercer had an impact for a very small number of people, either the highly engaged or the critic community. It had an impact, but only with a very small number of people. Hunger Games had a much wider cultural impact. Is Twilight considered for nerds? Twilight, as much as we all can, should, and do crap on Twilight, that's fine. I don't want to crap on it too much, because there is something to be said for a series, especially a series of books that just gets kids reading. Is it good? No, it's not good. Do I wish that kids wanted to read higher quality stuff, or watch higher quality stuff? Yes, I do. But yeah, it's the kind of thing that it doesn't always, but it can turn people into nerds. It's the gateway drug kind of thing. And so I think it's, I'm open to argument on this, absolutely, but I think it belongs on this list for that reason. It does have those kind of nerdy, fantastical elements that act as that gateway drug. Let's see. Jumanji. No, sorry, Jumanji ain't making the list. District 9 was horrible. I liked District 9 quite a bit. It was a little heavy-handed in its metaphor, but I say that as somebody, comfortably ensconced in my, Mountain West, Salt Lake City kind of bubble. So it felt super heavy-handed to me, but maybe it wouldn't to somebody who actually was from South Africa or something. So I leave room there, but as a movie, as a story, I thought it was really quite good. I thought it was great. Let's see. Divergent. I'm going to go ahead and leave off the Hunger Games knockoffs. And is it entirely that? No. Like, I should say, as a book franchise, I gather that it's not entirely that, but the movie franchise definitely is. Um, and I don't mean that as a knock, because that was Veronica Roth, wasn't it? She's one of my favorite author shelf guests. Um, and so I don't mean that as a knock on her books at all, but definitely as a cultural touchstone, this would definitely go under the Hunger Games knockoff category. Kind of like what was the other one? The Maze Runner would go in that category as well. We've been meaning. So this is referring to my thing on Twilight. One day, I don't know when it will happen, but one day we will cover Twilight on the Legendarium if it survives long enough. if the show survives long enough, we'll do Twilight. We'll talk about it. And I'm sure Stephanie a fan of it. I can't remember for sure. I don't want to talk out of school, but I'm sure that some of us will get lit up for our contempt for Twilight. But still, it'll be a fun discussion. It's gonna happen. All right. This is definitely out on a limb. Twin Peaks: The Return. We move away from fantasy and into the surreal. I think I would term this more as surreal, which is absolutely a valid and often delightful genre, but doesn't quite fit into our categories here. Okay. What is this? Oh, are you talking about District 9? Supernatural is the one I was actually trying to think of earlier. We should put Supernatural on there. Which means if we're going to put Supernatural on there, do we also do... What was the one with the three sisters? Oh, somebody help me out. Sorry. I'm still laughing about the District 9 thing. Okay. The Hobbit series and Lord of the Rings. We've already got those up there. Lord of the Rings, Hobbit. Those are on there. Oh, you know what? Did we get Firefly? We got the Wheel of Time, but I don't think we put on... You guys are still cracking me up. Rings of Power. We'll put that on there. In fact, that's good. That's a good reminder. Wasn't specifically targeted to nerds, targeted toward romance-hungry teens and lonely housewives. Tells how you really feel, Linnea. Alien, way too early for our list here because we're going with kind of in the last generation. But if we were doing an all-time list, this would be darn near the top. Alien is, in my mind, one of maybe like 20 movies that you could conceivably define as perfect. Alien, like, obviously tastes are going to differ and not everybody's going to love the horror elements or the sci-fi elements or whatever. But as long as you kind of discount that, just as far as movie making and storytelling and performances and special effects and all that stuff, it is difficult to find fault with Alien. That is a damn near perfect movie. Around the same time frame, what was the other perfect movie that came out around then? Oh, Tremors. Tremors is a perfect movie. You don't have to like it, but you have to acknowledge it's perfect. Okay. Charmed is the one I was thinking of. When did Charmed come out? Charmed came out, that was kind of right around the turn of the century. I think we might be able to go with Charmed on this one. Some of our younger viewers may not really remember, but it was a big deal. Okay. Well, Yeah, maybe. Um, I don't know. I've lived and worked in places where, certain words, not necessarily the F word, but certain words are so ubiquitous, so common, that it just becomes part of the linguistic landscape. But it really grates on the ears of people who don't live there, right? And so I get it. Not your favorite thing, not your favorite aesthetic. That's fine, but yeah, Gremlins would be too early. All right, I worked at Barnes and Noble when Twilight came out. My friend tried to get me to read it. Have an open mind, she said. I got 10 pages in, just couldn't go any further. I used to make by the way, we're gonna start wrapping up here in just a moment. But I used to rag on Twilight all the time without ever having read it. And finally, my sister-in-law got so tired of it that she shoved a copy of it into my hands and said, "Take this, go home, and read it," because she loved it. And this is back in 2007 ish. She said, "Go home, read it, and then you can make fun of it if you still think it's terrible." And I took it home and I read it, and I devoured the whole thing within a couple days. It was a page turner, right? So I read through the whole thing, took it back to her house, gave it back to her. She said, "So what'd you think?" And I went, "It was awful." Ooh, Underworld. You know, if I'm not going to put Resident Evil on here, I probably shouldn't put Underworld on here. But it's, you know what? Maybe they both go on here. Underworld. Resident Evil. They're so niche. They're so niche. The first Underworld and the first the first Underworld was not so niche. The first Resident Evil definitely was. It wasn't a good movie. At least the first Underworld movie was pretty good. Anyway. All right, so where are we at? We got a pretty good list here. There are a million more that we could add to this, and maybe we'll come back to this later. But I am interested to note that let's see, we had 22 on the movie side and 28 on the TV side. It does seem to be easier to come up with TV entries, right? What's the other one that just came out? House of the Dragon, right? I get the sense in the last 5 years or so that TV is becoming more important to kind of the nerdy side of life than movies are. Movies I think tend still to be more aimed at general audiences, where TV shows are often willing to target niche audiences like us. But yeah, Tron Legacy, you mentioned that before, and while that was I thought a good movie with one of the best soundtracks I can remember ever, I'm not sure it had a ton of impact, and it was kind of a flop, unfortunately. It didn't do all that well, as I recall. Open to correction, but I don't think so. iRobot, definitely not. That wouldn't go in there. It's a good thought, but I don't think so. Scott Pilgrim, actually, that's not a bad entry to the list. Because that was actually an adaptation, I believe, right? That was a comic before, and then they made the movie out of it. And movies are still, I don't know about this year, but like recently-ish, movies are still referencing Scott Pilgrim, or like kind of aping off of that. This is like the Scott Pilgrim would be the kind of apex of the manic pixie dream girl cliche, right? With, what was her name? Ramona Flowers. Yeah, absolutely. Easier to do better adaptations on TV than movies. Depends on what you're adapting, right? That is definitely not always going to be true. 300. Maybe. But I think at this point, I think we have to call it at some point, because I can't do this live stream forever. Um, I have other things I have to do this afternoon. Um, so I have to cut it off somewhere. But I think we come back to this list. Okay, we're gonna keep growing this list and see where it comes out. But as it stands, if we look at the last generation's greatest contributions, or the latest, maybe I should change that to latest generation's greatest contributions to nerd culture, whatever. I think it's fair to say that the TV side is starting to outweigh the movie side. Um, like I said, there are 1,000 more titles we could put on here, but I think if we did, this kind of general disparity would continue to be exhibited. Okay, let's see. You guys, let's see. Watchmen and Sin City may be too old. No, I don't think they're too old. Okay, yeah, they could be a second 300. Yeah, Little Red, you second 300 because of the abs. Let's be honest. I think that's why we all second 300, right? And once again, Sin City, we all second Sin City because of Jessica Alba. There you go. I never actually watched Sin City all the way through. I remember seeing clips here and there, like it would pop up on TV or whatever. But I've never actually watched it all the way through. I would say that while TV lends itself better to adaptations with more room to breathe and tell a long story, they can stumble just as easily as movie adaptations. I agree with this, Jonas, because because you have more room to breathe, you also have more room to, not to put too fine a point on it, but get boring. There's more room for bloat. So if Disney comes and says, "Hey, we need," I don't remember how many episodes it was, but they say we need 10 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett. Maybe it was 8, maybe it was 10. I can't remember. And you, as the writer or the writer's room, you're like, we have enough to tell 4 hours worth of story, or 3 hours worth of story, but they're ordering 8 hours worth of television. Okay, well, I guess, boy, what are some other areas we could explore? And you can run into bloat, where oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes with movies, you start with, you start with enough writing to make 4 hours of movie, and then you edit that writing down until you have 3 hours of movie, and then you film 3 hours of movie, and and then you put it in the editing bay until you get it down to that 215 or whatever, right? That whittling process can, obviously it doesn't always work this way, but it can have, I think, a little more opportunity to tighten up a story and make it more interesting, a better adaptation, perhaps, if we want to say it that way. Whereas TV kind of goes, it can, again, not always the case, but it can go the opposite direction, where it tends to bloat. This is a good thing to point out, but I still think it's fair. I still think it's fair to consider them as we didn't even put DC on there. DCEU. I'm gonna put that on there. I think it's fair, but if you look at, like, what's the historical, cultural relevance of Iron Man, it's like if the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe hadn't come out, then we wouldn't really care about Iron Man. Now, I mean, we would have then. It was a great movie. I'm not saying it's not a good movie, but it is the context that these things exist within. So, this is definitely, without a doubt, this is the thirstiest live stream we've ever done. Personally, I blame Linnea, and possibly Little Red Book, and I don't know who else, but all right. Marvel and DC TV would probably cancel out the movies if we expanded the list. That's a good point. Yeah, there's a lot of TV property out there. So, oh, you know what? That's a good point. We should probably, like, with the Avengers, there's the Avengers MCU, but then there's the Avengers, like, the WandaVisions and the Hawkeyes and whatever else goes on the TV list. Okay. All right, you guys, I have to stop. I have to stop some point. I have to cut us off because I have to go. I have to go be a dad. You know how it is. If you're a dad or a mom, some things have to be done. So I'm going to cut it off there. And I was going to talk about Dragonsteel, and I was going to talk about the Lost Metal, but you're just going to have to wait. We'll do all that at a later time. For now, we're going to call it for the day. Thanks so much for hanging out. Appreciate you guys, contributing to my list here, and I will see what I can do to keep growing it. For now, have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Stay safe. Keep reading. Keep watching. And keep listening to our show, because that's always nice.